Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Laid Back Magic Way podcast. You can already tell that I am coming off a really nasty flu. I actually did a replay episode last week because I was just way too sick to record, and I did not want to miss another week. So I feel pretty good. I just unfortunately sound like an actual frog. But I really did not want to miss this episode because I know it's going to be really helpful for you if you have a Disney World trip coming up, especially if you are planning a summer Disney World trip. Because I'm going to walk you through exactly how I'm sketching out our upcoming trip this coming July, which is right smack dab in the middle of summer. And I want to show you how I'm thinking about this because for every time of year in Disney World, there are just unique things to think about versus other times of year. And we honestly have a lot of things that we want to do on this trip. And I know that we're not going to be able to do all of it. I know that we're going to be dealing with very specific seasonal things, but I still want to hit everything on our absolute must-dos without it being too structured and full. And when I say sketch, if you've ever heard me say sketch or sketching your trip, I mean it literally by the definition, which is like a rough or unfinished drawing that someone would make first before they make a more finished picture or a more finished trip in this case. This is my favorite part of planning, and it's what I teach my members inside of Laid Back Magic. I have a whole chapter on sketching so that they can learn to do it on their own. And unfortunately, it's the step that most people skip. Sometimes it can get really exciting, especially this part of planning. I could be shopping for cute summer outfits, or I could be booking the flights. If I saw a promo, I could be grabbing tickets, a number of things. But it's really important that I get this bird's eye view of the trip first and start lightly sketching to know what I actually need to be thinking about, what's going to give me the most juice for the squeeze, so to speak. And I know just spending a little bit of time doing this first is going to have a huge impact on the actual trip itself, more than all of those other things I could be doing. Hello, and welcome to the Laid Back Magic Way podcast. I'm your host, Dana Stanley, creator of Laid Back Magic. As a mom of 3, I know how tough it can be to find time to plan a Disney World trip that doesn't leave you feeling stressed or overwhelmed. That's why I'm here, to help moms like you create Disney vacations that feel even better than they look on paper. Here, we're not chasing perfection, but creating our next favorite memories. So whether you're brand new to Disney or looking to go deeper into the details, this podcast is your go-to for simple tips, mindset shifts, real-life trip recaps, and expert insights to make your trip magical and manageable. New episodes drop every Monday, so be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment. Okay, let's dive in. So I actually have my Google Sheet pulled up that I use to sketch out my trips. And I want to give a little bit of context about summer trips as a whole, because I think summer kind of gets a bad rap at Disney World. And yes, the heat is definitely a factor. And I'm going to be complaining about it a lot. While we're actually on the trip, I am definitely a baby about it. I'm not going to pretend like it's something that doesn't bother me. But from a planning perspective, it's actually one of the simplest seasons going in the summer. And the reason is that there isn't a big, glaring holiday. You have 4th of July, but once we're out of that window, which we are, there's no huge holiday you have to avoid. There's no a spring break or Christmas or marathon weekends or a festival opening that is going to shift the crowds. Summer has been pretty level with the crowds themselves. I would call it maybe an even medium to high-ish baseline, just kind of across the whole board for July. So because my dates are set in stone already, I'm not thinking about what week I'm going to be booking my vacation, but I am going to be looking at the specific days and from park to park. We are not going with the crowds. We're going to hopefully zig while everyone else is zagging. But the important thing is that I have to kind of layer these things in as I go. So before I even looked at the park days, before I looked at the crowd calendars or thought about the rides, lightning lanes, anything, I filled out my Laid Back Magic journal, which you can grab for free in the show notes, or you can go to laidbackmagicway.com/journal. if you haven't already. But it's helping me think through things because I have such a big to-do list. My 2-year-old is getting older and starting to actually have little interests in things. He's very into Elsa right now, which is very funny. He sings Let It Go, and he wants to meet Elsa and show her his trucks, he told me. So there's just a lot of things, like he's getting like this little list of must-dos, which is different than our past trips. He kind of just went along for the ride. He didn't really have much input. So I'm thinking about, what are my kids into right now? Do we want to prioritize fireworks? Are we going to be eating at more sit-down meals or quick service, like where my kids are at right now? How much downtime do we need for the pool? Like what is going to feel good for us right now? And if you're trying to do this too, and you're kind of hitting a wall when you're picturing like, okay, what does that mean? Like, I don't really know what our quote rhythm is. I like to think about our weekends. Like if you have a Saturday and there's nothing, big in the calendar for that day, like what do you guys usually do if you just have like a day off together? That's a pretty good indicator of like what time you guys are naturally going to wake up, what time you eat. Like, are you having like an early lunch? Are you having a late lunch? I've noticed this with our neighbors too on the weekend. Our neighbors across the street have kids of similar ages, but they do not have a toddler. And I kind of laugh because our schedules are like opposite. We like to get out the door earlier in the morning, have like a little outing. We'll go out to lunch because we're kind of trying to do everything before nap time, which is like 1:30. They're the opposite. They like stay home all morning, cleaning up the house, getting caught up on like home things. And the kids are just kind of hanging out. And then they leave the house at like 1:30 and they'll kind of be gone all day. And that's like a rhythm. Like that is a set thing that you guys just find yourselves naturally doing. I like thinking about that first so that we're not like putting a square peg in a round hole when we're on our trip and fitting things in at weird times when we don't normally eat or rushing or even feel bored because we're usually doing something at those times. So now that I know my priorities, I'm going to start filling in the spreadsheet a little bit by looking at crowd calendars. And this is really important because I'm not going to like drive myself insane with this of like, oh, this day is a 7 crowd. This day is 7.5, but this one's an 8 and I should switch this and blah, blah, blah. But I am going to use it as a jumping off point because like I said earlier, summer crowds stay pretty even, but each park still is going to have a high and low day throughout the week. So I'm looking at historical crowds of high and low, and I'm plugging those into my dates that I'm going of what is the high crowd park day, what is the low crowd park day. Like, okay, where are the slightly better things that I can tweak and go where there's hopefully less people? For example, like the first full day that we're there, my instinct, if I skip this step, would be to just start in Magic Kingdom because we're staying at Grand Floridian. We're so close, being on the monorail, it'd be super easy to just start at Magic Kingdom. But when I look at the crowd calendar, Hollywood Studios is actually the least busy day and Magic Kingdom is the least busy the day after. So I'm just going to let that make the decision easy for me and work around that. The crowd calendars are definitely going to show like ebbs and flows throughout my week. But I'm also going to be plugging in the things that do not change, like the non-negotiables, just like the facts, like things I cannot control whatsoever. I'm going to be thinking about the things that are just like true about this trip. Obviously, we have our check-in and our check-out. And the one thing we already touched on is the heat. Like I'm expecting it to be 95-ish. And that's not what the humidity and like the actual feels like. It's going to be much higher. But I am not pretending like we're going to be rope dropping to park close every day in July in 100 degrees. Like we are not doing that. And the top things I want to make sure that I'm including in our plans, factoring in this heat that I know we're going to have, is one, I want like extra time at the pool. I need to at least factor in, that my kids are going to want to do that. 2 is to plan a little bit more for like air conditioning and shows, preferably in that like 2 to 4 o'clock window when it's like very hot. So we're either like taking a break back at our room and having a nap. If not, because I know my son sometimes falls asleep while we're in the park, having something penciled in of like if and when that happens, where we can go, a place nearby with like a show or air conditioning or at least shade. And third is having some lunch reservations, like sit down lunch reservations that aren't quick service. I learned this on our last summer trip, that just about when I was about to like reach my melting point, like actually not be able to take it anymore, we had a lunch reservation and we were heading to lunch, and it felt so good to just sit down in air conditioning, have a bathroom close by, fill up on food and salt and water and all of the things. So that's definitely something I want to incorporate this time. I get asked this a lot, how we stay at deluxe Disney resorts without paying the full Disney price. The short answer is renting DVC points, and specifically through DVC Rental Store. It's how we stay at places like Animal Kingdom Lodge or Boardwalk for significantly less than booking direct. You're essentially renting points from Disney Vacation Club members, which means you're getting the same resort, same room, just at a better value. And for me, that matters because it gives us more flexibility with what we can spend on the rest of our trip, like character dining and lightning lanes. I use DVC Rental Store because they handle everything for you. Low upfront payment, flexible cancellation options, and a really straightforward process, so there's no guessing or lots of back and forth. If you're planning a Disney trip and want to explore staying deluxe without stretching your budget, click the link in the show notes. Another big thing that is out of my control and very summer specific is that the sunset is late, which means the fireworks are late. And like for us, that means really late. Like Fantasmic and Happily Ever After are most likely going to be at 9:30. So if we want to prioritize fireworks, which I know that we do because we actually didn't see them last time because of this reason. And since we're staying at the Grand Floridian, I'm looking forward to being able to get back to our hotel fairly easy after the fireworks. But I really do need to treat it as a little bit bigger of a deal than if it was like February or something and the fireworks were a lot earlier. It's not something we're just going to like casually stumble into at the end of the night and watch the fireworks. So knowing that, this might mean that I'm going to splurge for a fireworks dessert party so that if and when my kids are tired, and I'm looking at the 2-year-old in this scenario, if he's having like a rough night, we're going to make it as easy as possible on ourselves to not have to fight the crowds or be packed in like sardines to get a good spot, or get there very early and just make him sit in the stroller, being that it's so late. I'm also going to plan in a slower morning the following day. So like I'm not going to schedule a 8 o'clock character breakfast the next morning, or even like very early lightning lanes if we're going into the parks, because I know that we're going to want to chill the next morning if we're getting back so late. And on that fireworks night, I'm going to make sure I sketch in like a real break in the middle of the day, because I can't expect my kids to make it to late fireworks after like a full hot day in the parks with no break. Like that's not going to work. Now let's talk about what's actually happening in the parks, specifically summer, because there's a lot of stuff going on. And the biggest one is for Cool Kids Summer. They did this last summer as well, and we really, really liked it. This year, it's running from May 26th to September 8th. And this is important because there's just a lot of extra like entertainment and activities, character experiences, things that are just really geared toward kids. But the catch is that a lot of these things, like the new Bluey meet and greet that's going over in Animal Kingdom, they're going to end on the early side, like probably around 4:30, something like that. I know last year we loved hanging out with Stitch in Tomorrowland. He had like a little dance party for Cool Kids Summer, and my daughter really liked it. But I want to say it only ran until 3:30 or 4, so it's not something that you can just go whenever you want. So now I'm thinking like if we really want to do those things, those need to happen earlier in the day, which again just reinforces like there's going to have to be a lot of things that we're just not going to get to, things that I'm going to have to say no to if I want to prioritize the Cool Kids Summer, which my kids loved. But I also can't expect, a lot of pool time and a lot of sleeping in and a lot of taking breaks and all of these things and hit everything. there's going to have to be a balance, which again is why I like sketching, because you're essentially just penciling things in very lightly. And then when you can see it all at once, you can say, this is not going to work, and you can edit and delete and curate things as you need. I'm also thinking about extended evening hours. Since we're staying at a deluxe resort, this is one of the perks that we get. This is in Epcot, usually on Mondays, Magic Kingdom, usually on Wednesdays. They essentially keep the park open only for deluxe resort guests after the park officially closes. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to it, but I do want to make little notes of the hours inside of my sketch. The actual hours haven't been released for our trip yet, but I know that they're coming. So I want to make a little note. That way, if and when I'm feeling spontaneous, like maybe we could potentially pop in, like I could take the 2 older ones into one of those parks fairly easily from the Grand Floridian. Next, I'm going to be looking at like what's new or reopening, because Magic Kingdom specifically is going to be very like Lightning Lane competitive this summer. I know I'm going to want a Lightning Lane for Buzz Lightyear, which is reopening around the time that I'm recording this. And also Big Thunder Mountain is reopening this summer. So I know that these 2 Lightning Lanes are going to be fairly hard to get and in demand. And they're on my must-do list. So when it comes to using MultiPass, if we end up doing 2 days in Magic Kingdom, for example, I may not use Lightning Lane MultiPass for the first day of the trip. I'm going to be focusing more of my rides towards the end of my trip on like a second Magic Kingdom day. And the reason I'm doing this, and just a reminder, that people staying off property can only book 3 days in advance for like the entire length of their trip. So if you picture like a chart going from left to right of your park days, let's say you have 5, you are fighting against more people on the left, like on that first day, versus the end towards the right. Like it gets less and less people the farther you go out. And the less people you're going up against, obviously, the better chance you have of getting first dibs, not only on the Lightning Lanes, on the rides that you want, but the times that you want too. Like I don't want a Lightning Lane for Buzz Lightyear at 3-4 o'clock. I want it probably in the morning. So I know that sketching those in towards the end of my trip, I'm going to have a little bit of a better of a chance than if it was our first park day. And I would say this is like a typical to short trip. It's 5 nights, 6 days. And I have yet to really know actually how many days I actually want to be in the parks. And that's why I love sketching so much, because if I were just getting like 6 tickets, oh, we're going to be there 6 days, I'm going to get 6 days of park hoppers or something, I may actually be wasting a little bit of money, because it's good to know like, hey, do we even want to go into the parks the day that we get there? Maybe I could see what time the flights are. Are we going to be exhausted? Are we even going to have time? Do I want to risk that? Like if our flight was delayed? And then also like, do we want to go to the parks the day that we're flying home? I honestly don't think we're going to be able to do like a full rest day because of the length of the trip. But what I am building in is what I would call like a half reset day. And for us, that would be like there is no alarm being set for one of the mornings towards the middle of the trip. I want to wake up without an alarm, grab like an easy breakfast, and head straight to the pool. If you have kids that are like very into the pool, it's nice to go in the morning sometimes, especially in the summer, which obviously is hotter. People want to be at the pool in the middle of the day. It can get pretty crowded. And or if you're staying somewhere with a popular pool like beach or yacht club, I mean, people will be lining up in the summer, like before the pool officially opens, to make sure they get chairs. And while I don't think that will be the case for us when we're at Grand Floridian, I do want to build in at least like one late morning pool hang, which now that I'm saying this would actually work perfectly on the night that we want to stay up late for fireworks. So kind of penciling that in, because we could do the pool and probably do an early nap. Like a nap is going to be a non-negotiable on fireworks night. And I know that not building in at least some sort of like a softer day or at least a softer morning is going to make the whole trip feel like really exhausting. So when I look at my spreadsheet now and what it actually looks like, It's not like a set itinerary. I have things around the times that they would happen, but I don't know the official park hours yet. I don't know the official times for fireworks yet, but I have everything ready to go so that it'll save me so much time when I'm starting to fill in actual timing. When I'm ready to book my lightning lanes, I have just an overview. I actually color code them in yellow so that I see which ones I want to be booking. But it is still very much a sketch. Like if you think of a sketch, like how an artist would use it, they're not going to just walk up to the canvas and immediately like grab some paint and start slapping it on. They're going to use pencil very lightly. They're going to like sketch the outline first. They're going to figure out like where everything's going to go, what the focal point is going to be, what the background is going to be. Then they fill it in with like shading and color and the highlights and all of those things. So that is how I'm sketching our summer trip. And I will absolutely keep you posted as we get closer and I start filling in more of those details like our dining. I know I mentioned that we have a lot on our list and I will be sharing more of the things I'm excited about trying out this summer. And if you want to start sketching your own trip, again, the Laid Back Magic Journal is linked for you in the show notes. I would start there. Thank you for putting up with my frog voice. Hopefully it is improved on our next episode because I am sitting down with my friend Melissa because she reminded me that we are almost halfway to Halloween in Disney World. So we're going to talk about all the things that you should be thinking about if you have a fall trip on your mind or if you're hoping to visit Disney World around Halloween, which honestly in Disney World starts in like August. So you don't want to miss that one, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Laid Back Magic Way podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode and it was helpful for you, it would mean the world to me if you'd write a quick review. Your reviews help more moms like you find the show, and I read every single one of them. Seriously, thank you in advance. You can find me on Instagram at somewhereworthwhile, and I'd love to hear from you there. DM me if you have any questions about this episode or what you'd like to see in future ones. Until then, keep planning for your next favorite memory, and I'll see you next time.